Hello again. It is John and Kenny for our fourth podcast with TITE Talk. Hopefully you've been enjoying what we've been putting out. As you can see, we've got some fancy new foam dealies, super colorful and festive. I don't know what's festive about it. There's nothing really coming up.
It's green and orange.
It's just bright.
Maybe my high school.
We could go. Was that Slicers? Is that
They were Bearcats.
The Bearcats. Was it green and orange?
Yeah, they were green and orange.
That's terrible colors.
Yeah.
I think Maryville wasn't too bad. It was purple and black.
Yeah.
Or so, I don't know. If you're from Maryville and you're watching this and you're like, well, that's wrong. I don't remember. It's been a while. I'm old.
But yeah. Sound even better with these on.
So how have you been today, Kenny? Good?
Yeah.
I had a pretty bad headache today.
Yeah.
Man, no one really cares. Like, man up.
Yeah.
But,
no, just kidding.
so today, we got a couple different topics we're going to talk about. We're going to start out with do-it-yourself. As you can see, we've been doing a lot of this ourselves. We've made a lot of equipment we can through the years, going to shows. A lot of people buy risers or other equipment, let's say road cases or anything like that. A lot of that, I mean, Kenny knows, we've built on our own from... a good example, we could start with your pedal for your kick drum. I don't know how many times we've had to repair that on the fly.
Duct tape has been my best friend. So thank you, Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, Menards, Walmart, Hobby Lobby, wherever I could get a good set of duct tape from. If I were to actually take a picture of my drum pedals, the main foot pedal is essentially duct tape.
Because we put it together, we found some old bungee cables, and I took off the ends. They're black of some sort, and they have the little S hook. Well, we took that and bent the shit out of it so we could stick it through the chain part of yours?
Yeah, we're not gonna get into all the details.
But anyways, we bent that shit, and now it works correctly.
It works fine, and because don't have the money to buy the ones that I want, not just any pedals, because at this point, you know what I mean, I'm not taking a step back. But the pedals that I do want, there's a little bit out of my price range. But that's one example. Like even these, so we were just talking about these. Like before, way back in the day for vocals, we did pantyhose and a hanger. Yeah, and that was when we needed a pop guard. Get that nice pop pop pop. To get rid of that, we just bent a hanger in some general awkward shape and hooked it onto a mic end so we wouldn't make any poppy noises. With more duct tape.
Yeah, with more duct tape, yeah. And DIY, I think it makes you more appreciative of what you're doing as a musician, band. You could even take that into even your normal life, but I mean, strictly speaking for this, it's humbling at the same time. You're like, oh, how did you do that? Or you talk to another band, say it's a giant band. And like, oh yeah, we just took some zip ties and kind of hooked this mic to here and zip tied in and closed the case shut. And now we have a isolation box.
It's like, it makes you be more creative. Like the wheels always turn because you make music. You might as well make all the other things happen that have to do with music. And there's so many little intricacies when it comes to gear, and there's not one above the other. I mean, I might have the most pieces, but I don't have to deal with strings. I have to deal with locking tuners.
I wish I could make my own strings. It would sound terrible. If I made them, I'm not that kind of artisan or however you want to call it. If I tried to make my own strings, it'd probably be, it would turn out terrible. Or I try to use wrap a weed whacker with some sort of copper wiring, and I'm like, oh, this will vibrate and make some noises maybe. Yeah, it would sound awful. Or we could start a new style of metal rock or whatever you want to do. Gardening rock?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can insert some sort of racist comment in there. Yeah. Brown, and we're not going to go that. We're going to stay classy today.
Yeah.
But DIY is one of my favorite things about doing this, because if you can't buy it, let's just try to freaking make it. From, like we said before, our foam mic ends to just stupid ways to carry stuff. Another good example we used was our last show for our in-ear monitors. We had so many damn wires running from interfaces to mixing little pot things to my actual in-ears. And we just took some, what were those?
Milk crates.
Yeah,
everybody knows them as milk crates. Stacked them on top of each other, got some zip ties and some tape, and just made everything fit.
That looked like shit. I was this. Well, I don't know what the hell this is that we're carrying around.
Yeah, but There was to carry all those multiple pieces separately would have just been even more of a headache.
Yeah,
so.
and then we were probably and that turned out super well. Any of any used guys, anyone that showed up to the show saw how delightful my face was the whole show.
Yeah.
So, but
Crates,
yes,
the milk crates did fine. It's the wires that went bad.
yeah, just nice crackly noises in my ears.
That I can't make. Can't make XLR and quarter cables yet. Probably will find out. And
if there's any companies out there that are up and coming, feel free. We will try out your gear and tell if it's good, not good. Even if it's not good, we'll probably use it anyways because we need gear.
Yes, I can find a use for it.
So outside of that, though, I don't know. Is there anything else that any of us? I know, I've talked about. I've made the risers for our band and whatnot.
Oh yeah,
which a lot of people like. Which I will be selling. They'll be on
definitely
our
made. Yes, like legitimate risers with full support. I mean, a lot of thought was put into making those. And
there's a lot of fat members in the band, so we're heavy. So we made sure that they wouldn't go through said risers.
They are grade A jump tested.
Yeah, they will hold larger gentlemen or women for that case. I mean, we don't discriminate, so we make for either one.
Whatever your class is. Ooh, kept it classy.
Classy, there you go. I hate puns.
I mean, you name it, we've jerry-rigged it some way, somehow. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of the listeners who are in bands or any other facets of their life have jerry-rigged something. So, like, DIY has definitely become the funnest and biggest part about being in a band.
And like even with DIY too, I mean, we brushed about on prior podcasts too with just like doing our own stuff like this, like, you know, our recording software, doing a lot of stuff in house if we can to save money. I mean, a lot of it too. There's a lot of experts out there that it's worth every penny that you pay for, so you can get a good mix, a good master, anything along those lines. But there's a lot of people out there that are just really good and they can do everything in house, and you know, and sometimes that helps.
Kudos, you're a master DIY, black belt in DIY.
But yeah, we've said DIY a lot. DIY.
DIY.
Someone should start a count when they listen to this to see how many times we've said that.
Ding, ding,
bang, 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 bang. And that'd be interesting. Oh, excuse me. Well, another thing that we're listening to today, as we were cruising around before we got on here, we're listening to a bunch of different vocal styles, and it's interesting to see how they vary through metal and even like hard rock. I primarily listen to XM when I'm going everywhere, but it's interesting. I remember, I don't know how long you've been listening to, but yes, Iron Maiden fan, but then there's like these sub ones that want to be like Iron Maiden, which I feel like, but now they're clearly different. But Iced Earth, we were just listening to them. Mm-hmm. It's weird the way that they progressed from what I originally heard them from, which was almost like very similar Bruce Dickinson style to what they are now. It's almost like a Rob Halford. Rob Halford? Am I getting that right? I always mess up his name somehow. Judas Priest guy.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's like meets like almost like a Slayer, but then I don't know. It's weird with high pitched vocals.
It's got this weird like choir effect behind it, and there's clearly someone singing on a very low registry, and then screw middle, it just skips right all the way to like very highs, and they just blend them all together, and it's definitely different because everyone's singing the same note, but obviously they're in different octaves, they're in different parts of the entire spectrum of it's just different to listen to. It's that, you know what I mean, because that's the meat and potatoes, like the vocals, that's the meat and potatoes of the song, and it's totally out there. I love it. It's so unique. Like no one else has that exact
and
style.
Going with vocals too, it brings me back to when I was listening, when I first came across Cradle of Filth. Like I did not know anyone that could do like really low death metal gutturals and then like those really high pitched screamy, almost like reverse screams. I mean, that's another iconic vocalist that every time I hear him, it's crazy because you know it's him.
Exactly. It's I like the hybrids. I'll just throw that out there. I like the hybrids. Taking what a lot of singers or vocalists do, and not only seeing that they can do many other things, but bringing them together into one and making it work.
So I always find that interesting too, especially when you're listening. It's like listening to a good composition in a metal song, even rock song or anything like that. When you go from just the way the instruments are set up, it's not all one little set of chugging. It's not all one little set of phrases or set of rhythms. Like there's each little flavor to each part that you throw into the song or arrangement or anything like that. And that's another thing too with the vocal styles is since we're going into a different phase of Time Is the Enemy too, is playing around what vocal styles we can use, which we'll put out later. But I mean, now you can officially hear I'm going to try to start doing some vocals on some of our new tracks. You heard that here today. What they're going to sound like, we don't know yet. We're working on it because we're trying some new stuff out. So we may like it. You may like it better than we do. I mean, who knows? We're hoping in the long run, you'll be like, oh, that's good. Or everyone's going to hate you, like, well, you're terrible. Why'd you start doing it? Stick with guitar.
But yeah, that's just one of the things you won't know till you try. And as the years have gone by, my ear has picked up the little nuances of older songs. Mm-hmm. So when I revisit, like old school Kill Switch, I can hear the different layers of vocals. I can hear how many times he did a take of whether Howard was screaming or singing. Even Jesse, too, because he does sort of that hybrid thing, too, where it's now this fat layered piece of vocals and, just maybe clean singing is a little bit up higher in volume so you can hear it more. But it just makes the overall presence of a vocalist felt in the songs. And I just took that way of thinking and brought it here. And together we just came up with, I mean, you guys are going to hear it. You just came up with this layered sort of hybrid thing. And I don't know. I think I like it.
It should be interesting. I mean, we can go a side note here. A lot of people go back and forth with Killswitch, especially the Killswitch Engage fans. Remember when Killswitch first came out with Jesse leading them and then Howard came in? And a lot of people go back and forth like, oh, which one do you prefer? I am still a Howard fan. Feel free to comment on this. Also, feel free to comment on any vocal styles or any bands that you find interesting because we're interested. We want to learn some more stuff. But anyways, going to that, you could hear what I feel like with the way Killswitch is going. I still feel like Jesse's trying to be like Howard.
Oh, yeah. And Jesse's strong suit is not Howard's strong suit.
Because I like Jesse's screams. He's got a totally different scream style.
And it fits them. Mm-hmm. And older Jesse did not sing as much. We have to keep that in mind. Jesse's strength was screaming. It was a great vocal to have on the style of Killswitch that was going on. And then, Howard came in and was able to add, clean sing on a whole different level. And everybody got used to that because, Howard was in the band for how many years? Like a good amount of time.
Or something like that?
Yeah.
I don't even know what it was. It was a long time.
It was a long time to be making brand new music with the band and then have Jesse come back and take the reins. And obviously everybody's used to Howard, but everybody knew Jesse. So it wasn't like, Jesse was only in the band for 6 months. No, Jesse was in the band long enough for them to get big. Mm-hmm. Then Howard took over and Jesse's back and the music never changed, which means Jesse could have went back, in my personal opinion, could have went back to screaming as a majority, and I would have never really lost.
So I'm waiting to see what else they keep doing, because I know the last album they released, it definitely was more, I don't know, it was a good, I'm not well-versed enough in their newer stuff. Like I've just been hearing in little spurts on XM and whatnot. And you could tell, like there's that feel of like, they're trying to keep the synergy or whatever you want to call it of Killswitch, but I miss Howard and like listening to Devil You Know and whatnot. I was like, I really gravitate towards that because he's different. It's iconic, and that's another thing that I don't see it in some of the newer stuff. I mean, yes, you've got some people that are very, very well versed and very well layered. Chelsea's Grin is their vocalist. I enjoy it thoroughly because there is so many different angles he comes out with that. Also, like a new band that I've come across, a lot of these like female screamers that are coming out, super interesting.
Would never know.
Yeah, Ginger. Ginger is they are becoming very, very big.
Never know.
And she's got like this like almost, I am not technical in singing terms, but like almost like a tenor voice, I guess you would say. In females, it's like she's not really high pitched, but then when she hits her screams, they're so low and guttural. It's hard to believe that that's actually her.
Exactly, and I think that's absolutely amazing how it's to think. Way outside, literally, that's outside the box.
And even was it the other one? Once Human. believe that's another one that's female led, and I was talking to you about that one. I think it's a female and
She had dreadlocks.
no, I don't think I can't remember which. I think they're Australian. They're Aussies, or one of them's Aussie because they're actually significant others in the band. I think it's the guitar player.
Oh,
or
okay,
something like
yeah.
that. It's like so they're a couple, but it's kind of neat. A lot of times that doesn't work out all the time. I mean,
Hey,
you
when
end
it
up with
does,
the good old Paramore problem of everyone's
Yeah.
banging everyone, and then oh yeah, guess
We're
what? The
all
band's
here to
broke
have
up.
a
Oh,
good
hey,
time.
guess what? I'm the leader of the band. Oh, we
So
get
it
to
doesn't
run everything
matter,
now.
right?
But no, I'm curious to see. I'm glad that's coming out of. I'm really glad the females are starting to like really step up and do stuff. I mean, I'm really glad they're in metal because it's annoying when they're like, oh, it's a male dominated field. No, not really. I mean, if you've got the gusto to do it, fucking do it. I would love to
Right.
see more female fronted bands.
As far as like popularity, yeah, you'd think, you know what I mean? You'd think it was a male dominated field, but as soon as you start listening to the radio more often and you start hearing some of these bands, you're going to be surprised when you type in a band name and you see a female fronting that band.
yeah.
It's just like,
And I was like, how did you hit those vocals? Like, I can't scream like that.
right? Yeah.
It's like, you're so little and you scream better than me.
Exactly. You
But
know, they're 5'2",
it's pretty fucking
and
cool.
they're real small, and then all its power just comes out of nowhere. It's awesome.
And it was, yeah, and we definitely, with the Butcher Babies, when we kind of came across, we started doing more research, like female-fronted bands and whatnot. And then kind of going through the different ones. I mean, you have, like, it's OTEP, right? OTEP, yeah, with her, and then she's got her distinctness. And then you have Cold Chamber, which she probably only does clean singing, though, right? And she's joint-fronted with the male singer, which I am sorry, his name eludes me. I'm not really sure what his name is like that, but I know they do good combo with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm trying to think of some other ones, but anyways, it's interesting. But going back to what we were talking about, I like when there's a good blend of styles of screaming, even styles of singing are like that, like a time and place. And one thing that I notice, and maybe others do or don't, it seems that a lot of these, we always hit on the same kind of bands that do the da-da-dun, da-da-dun. Some of them have the same exact vocals. Yes, the styling may be slightly different, but they always have that, like, either what sells. So like the bands on Sumerian Records,
Yeah.
a lot of them sound very similar. Scream, scream, scream. Maybe a little guttural, high pitch, clean singing. Scream, scream, scream. Switch back and forth, singing. And it's a weird trend with that too, the way they do the vocal patterns. As soon as I hear like the style that they're doing. So let's say it was like a strict gent style, where you go into the verse and it's like dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, dun, there's gonna be screaming. You automatically know when that chorus
style,
comes,
yeah.
they're gonna sing clean.
Yeah.
And that is I think the biggest thing me and Kenny go back and forth about with this the new age of metal, or whatever you want to call that. It seems that it's very we hit on this, probably this is the fourth time we're hitting on it too. It just seems that it's like this cookie cutter. You slice it this way, this sells. Here it is.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
can
not
see
hearing
that.
new stuff. I mean, I'm hearing new bands
that are following the same model. So
yeah.
like okay, I guess I'll rephrase it a little different. Like the song structure, you know, this is the verse, so we do this here. This is the chorus, so we do this here. And there's not a lot of bands that are making the song come together. So yeah, it's this huge drop off where you hear the verse, da 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 da, bass drop, pause, someone's gonna come in and sing clean. Where maybe, you know, a few bands are doing it different, where da 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 da, bass drop, someone's gonna scream, but that's because they were cleaning. You know, they were singing clean first, singing clean first. But I guess I'll just put my personal opinion out there and just say I like where you're taking all of what you're capable of doing and you're just seasoning the entire song. So you almost get lost in it, so to speak, where, yeah, at first it was screaming, but you kind of still hear some clean singing underneath it. And then you flip-flop. Or it's just every 30 seconds there's something that's catching your ear all over
Kind of like
again.
what Sam told us about, because
Yeah.
when he produced like he was doing rap stuff and everything like that. I mean, he can go into more with that. But yeah, that effect of every like 30 seconds or so, you add another layer, another beat, just to keep the listener entertained.
Right.
And that's our main concern too, is when we're writing. It's not just the fact of, okay, we want to do what we want to do. We want to make sure that the listener is entertained. And one of our close buddies from Unknown Zodiac, the singer, when he listens to the music, our main thing was he understood what we were trying to do, trying to tell a story. And that's a lot of other bands in. I'm not trying to clump every other band in too, that they say that they do this cookie cutter thing. The bands we listen to pretty much are still saying that we're just as guilty, that they'll do the same thing. Well, here's this, here's that. But the certain things that we do listen for, it could be within the song itself or within the way that they're structuring the guitars or anything like that. Even some of the gent bands or any bands that are what would be considered like the modern style of metal, even when they're doing that same like dun-dun-dun, there's ones I listen to that they'll change just enough variation into it to where when the vocals come in or out, you really do hear a difference.
Exactly.
And it makes it more exciting for the listener, I believe. And once again, we could be a little more jaded on that too, because the way we listen to things is a lot different than someone that's not into music or someone that doesn't play an instrument like that, doesn't take it as technically demanding to what we want in the ear.
They're not dissecting it as much as we do. But that, again, just like what Sam always says, 30 seconds. So, just a small tidbit, and we'll move on. When we're writing something, we'll play. We'll play something. Someone will play something. Maybe one of the three of us will play something. We'll be like, "Ooh, I like that. Okay, all right, hold on to that." We're not gonna give them that yet. We're gonna do this, or maybe do half of it here and do half of it later, just because of the. You know what I mean? We're thinking of so many different layers, so that every 30 seconds or every minute, your head sort of turns a little bit and you're like, oh, okay, I kind of like what they just did right there. And I know John's real big on doing this, where it's like, nope, only give it to them one time, pique their interest just at once, and they'll be listening for it, the next 30 seconds or the next minute later, and we'll give them something totally different. And when I hear the cookie cutter style bands, I don't know, it doesn't feel to me that they approach the songs that way. They go a full verse playing the exact same thing, and it's easy for me to sort of meh.
Well, I think that's why I gravitated so, like, I can't tune for like a good month. 12-Foot Ninja, I could not stop listening to them because I didn't know what the fuck they were going to do next. It was like, yeah, here's some hardcore, and we're doing salsa. I was like, what the hell? And then back into something hardcore, and then they'll go on the funk. For me, as a musician, I really, really like 12-Foot Ninja, because it encompasses what they can physically do.
Yeah,
and they almost break like a barrier of what they want to do. We touched upon it a little bit on one of our newer songs. It's in Bear Cult, right? Isn't that what we did?
Yes.
That?
Yeah, Bear Cult.
And we just touched upon it enough. But I like the fact that there is, sorry about that, that there is this variation, this attempt to, hey, let's try this in here. I'm not saying go all out like a super prog band and throw everything you physically can in it, but stuff like that and make it really interesting. You're like, well, you can make a right turn here or a left turn here, and you really don't know where the song's gonna go, but it flows so seamlessly into one in each verse that it's just one coherent, just good melting pot, like a good, I don't know, like a chili with a bunch of shit in it,
But yeah, that's exactly the point. I mean, the closer friends of ours, the bands that we gravitate towards, do that absolutely all the time. And because we share these same ideals as far as how we look at different things, how we feel different things, and hear all these small little nuances where it's me playing the snare a certain way at a certain point in the song versus whether he palm mutes. It gets all the way down to the nitty gritty. And when we hear things like, singer from Unknown Zodiac saying, yeah, I can definitely tell you guys are telling the story, it just means, for us that we're doing our job where, we give you a great introduction and then we're taking you somewhere, because that's literally how we sat down and thought it through is, okay, start here. Let's see what the song gives us.
And that's what we want to do with music. And everyone's got different tastes in what they want. And I've got other friends that they just like that pure intensity of like hardcore music or anything like that, those lines, or even the vocals or the actual underlying meaning of what they're doing. And I don't want us to try to say, oh, let's take away from that because they're playing the same cookie cutter stuff. But what we're trying to look at is it's hard to differentiate between some of the newer bands that are up and coming, or some of the newer bands that are getting signed on these younger labels, older labels, et cetera, and then actually really differentiating them. Let's say they go on a tour. I don't know how many times we've played a show that we'll hear 3 or 4 bands back to back, And if we weren't physically in the room, we would have not have known that they changed, or we would not have known that they are starting a new song. A lot of it's very, very similar in what they're doing. And yes, you do what's with the times, you do what people, may or may not enjoy. But I'm kind of missing that, which we've always touched upon in this, in everything we've been putting on our podcast here, a variety. Excuse me. With like Sumerian records, I always bring them up around like that, and we talk about them. If you look at them, yes, what they have, they're selling. Not hating on them. All these bands, they've done their job. They work hard. I'm not hating on the bands. It's the fact of, with that label, I don't feel like there's enough variety in that. I mean, maybe that's not what they're going for.
Right.
So be it. But that's a prime example. If you had all of those same bands on the same tour, it's like, it's just one big, okay, here it is. Like when we went and saw Memphis Mayfire. When we went and saw them over when Mojo's was Mojo's.
Yeah.
And it really stuck out with Word Alive. Every other band had that same...
Sort of, at the time, I think that was Hands Like Houses as well.
Was Sleeping with Sirens, were they there?
No, that was Skylight Drive.
Skylight Drive. Okay.
Hands Like Houses, Skylight Drive. And again, if I hadn't already known of them, I would have never known that, two bands just play back to back. Because their styles are very, very similar.
And I was drinking a bit heavily that night, and I could tell the difference when someone else came on. So I was like, oh, okay. And that's when we had our older bass player. Me and him we were not coherent as we should have been properly. But it was, there was when you can't physically tell something if you're sober, and then you can't physically tell anything when you're not, I could clearly tell the difference, some of the bands. And dude, Word Alive killed it on stage, and they were just direct support. And that's the sad part. That's one thing I hate. I mean, not hate. I love when you go to a show and this band that you've never heard of just goes boom.
Yeah, there's someone there that it takes the show too seriously. They definitely feel they're the underdogs, and they're here to steal the show. And at that particular time, many, many years ago, like 3-4 years ago, Word Alive just walked on stage and were like, yeah, we don't sound anything like that, number one, and number two, this is our show. And you felt that from the moment they hit the first chord and played the first song, and just wowed, just blew my mind.
And I could really appreciate too, because I think it was the Word Alive that went on, or one of them, and like you just saw these like normal looking dudes carrying equipment on. I'm like, are they in the band?
Who are these
guys? It's like, that guy's got no shoes on. I don't know. Is he in the band? And then they start loading stuff, and you see him. Okay, if anyone's ever been to a show, any show, it doesn't matter, rock or anything like that, they're doing sound check or like that. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, he's not getting off the stage. I was like, is he in the band? Maybe they made a mistake.
Right.
And then they start up the set. I'm like, holy shit! All these guys are in the band.
This is the band.
Yeah, that's always a good surprise with that. But yeah, it's
just, they stood out. That's what it is. They stood out with their energy, with what they played, and they were clearly on a tour where you had 3 or 4 bands that sounded really too close to being similar, and boom, Word Alive just stood out like a sore thumb.
And and this goes back to like what we were talking about before with like the vocal styles and whatnot. And clearly, there's a difference in style of playing. I don't know enough about Memphis Mayfire and any of the other ones, but I know the Word Alive is very, very, very good musicians. Like with Luke Holland, I even follow him because I like drummers. That's why I think me and Kenny work really well, because I like drummers. I like the intricacy. Can't even speak. I like what they can do because I can't physically do it.
Intricacies.
Yeah, see, there you go. I'm just excited today about all these topics we get to talk about. But yeah, even that, I follow him on Instagram and other stuff like that to see what he's doing like that. Same thing with some of the guitar players. Some of them, I wish I had that much time to practice and go on.
Oh my gosh. Just wait. Wait.
Yeah, once
as soon as I do this full time,
going,
everything's just going to...
You're going to get tired of seeing us. We're going to be doing this live. Like, can you stop being online? We don't hear you anymore. Another side thing too is we always do live, or check out our Mixer. It sounds like a dating site. I was talking about this the other night.
I was like, Mixer does sound like a dating site.
Is this Grindr? It's the same thing? Like, they're like, no, it's totally different. So I'm like, I don't know.
For a lot of people that do not know, me and John love to play video games.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, that's what I do.
Probably roughly almost just about
there's
every
nothing
night.
else I don't like watching TV at the end of the day. I mean, I don't like watching cable. I mean, a lot of people are the good old digital age. Yeah.
Video game, Xbox, by the way, because not PlayStation, and I will put my foot down on that. Not PlayStation.
You know, there's a lot of fanboys that go back and forth. I'm not a huge fanboy. Like, yes, I prefer Xbox. 90% of my friends play on Xbox, and I have nothing. And I have no hate against PS4. I like Microsoft. I'll stick with them.
90% of my friends are PlayStation, and I want to keep it that way. I don't even want them over here. They don't deserve it.
Which that's another thing we're going to talk about in the future. We'll do video games and metal. Maybe we'll do one just on that. Maybe we get some developer buddies come in here
because there's a lot of stuff. Surprisingly, there's a lot of bands that I didn't know until you sort of dig into their life a little bit. They do the same things that we do, and I say we as in the band and we as other band members. You know, we have all the same sort of dorky kind of hobbies.
That's what I love about metal. Is a lot. I'll say 99% of metal people, even if they're like the black metal people, they're like, ugh, Satan. They have an inner geek inside because they all fall under the same kind of, like we've talked about before. We're like the black sheep of music. Like, oh, metal guys, they're a bunch of morons, or they're handicapped in some way that they can do this stuff.
Meatheads.
But I was like, no. Most of us have to play a lot to get where we're at. Some other bands, not so much, but. Yeah, most metal dudes are pretty well versed in some shape or form, be it video games, literature, comic books, anything like that. When I went to C2E2, I went to Motor City Con. I'll also be going to Wizard World, which will be there. There's a big group of us, so I'll keep everyone posted on that. Check our Twitter. We're gonna have nice little characters there. It'll be a surprise for everyone. But yeah, feel free to check that out. But yes, what I'm going at with there is there's a lot of people that are in that kind of stuff that are into metal because I feel like it hits the same heartstrings as metal does and comic books and like that. The quote unquote geek. Now it's cool to be a geek, but then there's like this different level.
You're cool, but you're not cool enough type deal. And I went to the C2E2 after party, and it was just
But
just walked in.
That dude was a player. This dude was like 55.
Oh,
He was wearing a kilt. What's it called? Regimental. That means not wearing underwear. Mm-hmm. That's a new thing I learned. So if I wear a kilt, he's like, "Are you regimental?" I think that's what it was. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I was like, "Good for you." This dude was super cool. He was a player. These like 3 random inebriated women where Todd was like, "Oh my God, you're in a kilt." He just disappeared with them. We were his ride back. So hopefully you're fine and alive.
Wherever you are, bro. Yeah. Hope you had a good time.
We had a good time with you that night. It was good times, man.
But yeah, just being there, everybody was, and I mean everybody, because I have an alternate lifestyle. I like going to the nightlife in downtown Chicago and going to clubs, and it's more snotty. If I'm just being honest, it's just more snotty. It's more of this chest puffy type deal. And then, C2E2 was just sort of this really laid back, casual, what's up, man? I want to get to know you, and vice versa.
Everyone was saying it's cool. It didn't matter what you look like. You could have no face and everyone was at an equal.
You're like, oh, cool, he's got no face.
Like, oh, dude, hey, what's up, no face? And then like you just chill. Well, good example. Here's another. We were out for Kenny's birthday. A little story time here, and we went to Soundbar out in Chi-Town. And it was his birthday, so obviously we were all enjoying our time there, getting a little Swifty there. For all of you that like Rick and Morty, Swifty. Okay. Anyways, we were there, and then this group of my people, Asian people, decided to get loud with him. So they started pushing him out of nowhere. And this is what we're getting at, is the whole uppity crowd and all like that. Yes, I love going to the club stuff. However, so many people with damn attitudes and like that.
That's all it came down to, and it was just like, we're all here to do the exact same thing, right?
So like,
drink and have fun.
One of our other buddies, Reggie, so basically he cleared out and he's like, okay, we're done here. Then they push Reggie. I'm like, all right, cool. So I kind of step in. I was going to push him. I'm like, dude, that's it. I'm the last stand between us and whatever scuffle. And these are little tiny Asian dudes. They probably kicked their asses.
Probably.
And they probably just kicked me in the face.
But it was just kind of weird. You know what I mean? It was tight quarters,
no pun intended.
Tight quarters, and everybody's saying excuse me and trying to get to the bathroom or trying to get and brush your shoulder and get a salty look for it. It's just like, this is, you know what I mean? Like, us humans sort of made this weird hallway for us to navigate, and I'm just merging into my lane, sir. My bad. I gave you 2 taps. Excuse me. You still bump me and give me the dirty look, and I'm just like, okay, I'm mind my business. And it became sort of this little mini ordeal. Just like you wanted to go to the bathroom and I wanted to go to the bar, but this became this whole thing.
Sometimes the bar is the bathroom.
No, that's gross.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty bad. You go in there and it's full of drinks. But, yeah, no, I mean, then it all falls into, like, balancing all that together with the DI to kind of keep everything together. How do we cope with bands that have to do everything themselves or like that and still manage a normal life, a normal job with bills and everything else like that? I mean, we can go into some of the background that you have to do the balance out right now. I mean, like currently you're in the search for another job because of what we have to do, and we're trying to do all this.
I mean, we just talking about like going out, having a social life. You know, a lot of people take that as a priority. Can't lose my friends, can't lose my family, and honestly, the sanity of it all. You know, taking a break from whatever it is you're going through, and spending the money to do so. And that's hard-earned money from your 40 to 60 hour a week job. And then you still don't get sleep at night because you're thinking about your dreams. And that's a rough thing to balance. I mean, it took me 4 or 5 years to sort of get a handle on all of the aspects. And I mean like all of them. Where you work, you got to sleep, you got to eat, you can't forget about, tell your mom that you love you. You can't forget to tell your friends that you still think about them,
I don't care about my friends. They know this.
Even as a band, you can get sort of hung up on being too serious at all times. You forget about being a close knit group, and you know what I mean. And everybody handles all those things differently. So if you're not if you're not Kenny's twin, I can't expect you to be 100% serious all the time and being capable of doing that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because somebody completely opposite could be in the band and be like, I think we should take a break or think we should go out. And you start butting heads. And that's what end up happening when you're searching for a balance. You butt heads somewhere, somehow.
Yeah, you always you have to make time for, you don't want to always just hammer away at music. Yes, it's something we enjoy and love doing, but I mean, we do treat it as a second job. I mean, I leave my full-time job that I always do, and then I'll come straight here to record or do this podcast or talk to other people or do any sort of like small interviews. But the whole point is that's what I want to do. I don't think this, I think of this as my primary job, and as the other job is my secondary job to pay bills or anything like that. And it's always hard to balance like something you really, really want to do and then try to go with, well, I have to pay these bills. I have to be, quote unquote, be an adult kind of thing like that. But when is it that you say that what you really should try and follow and just take that step forward and be like, hey, this is what we want to do? Or just kind of go into what every other Joe Schmo does. Work your 9-to-5 job, get a job to pay bills. All right, let's say this. Get out of high school, go to college, get a job so you can pay bills for going to college. Get that job, pay more bills, have a family, rinse, repeat. That's it.
Hey.
Like, where's the human quality of actually like trying to broaden yourself to make yourself better? I mean, yes, some people do. Going to college and all that is what they want to do. That is their dream, to get their quote unquote dream job. And if that is, so be it. But I don't think there's enough of, even as say an artist, like someone that paints, or someone's really good at building with their hands or anything like that. We don't have the opportunity to do that and try to live a normal life. There's not a way to balance that sometimes, especially depending on the area you're in, too. I mean, the Midwest is notorious for that. We were always known for going to the steel mill. You get out of high school, go to steel mill. You make a lot of money, which is good. But is making that a lot of money, personally, what is fulfilling to your life, as opposed to what's fulfilling to what society says you should be doing and shouldn't be doing? I mean,
I call it the what if factor. I mean, I talk about this with like my personal close knit group of friends all the time. Is if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? And then, years from now, we're going to have the same conversation. And the only thing I'm going to say is that, X amount of years has gone by and you still haven't at least attempted to. And that part is really scary because you're adding another element into your already full plate. You're trying to put this extra dinner roll on top of all this food you already have, and you're scared that it's going to fall off or something else is going to fall off. And how I look at it is, if you're not willing to lose the plate altogether, just don't put anything on it. I always call it that what if, because if I actually don't chase, I'm going to work a 9 to 5, get a career, be a manager, make great money, and be in this position where I'm at a concert maybe on my 1 or 2 day off and be like, man, I could have. What if I had a pursued? And the thing is, this is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do, because it keeps me in a bind financially, because I could just work, save money, and keep working, and essentially lose, half my years to someone else's dream, or I struggle for the longest time that I possibly imagine, swallow everything, and end up in a place where I have my own schedule. I do what I want to do most of the time, and I have the income to show for it. Before I'm going to hand it back over, my favorite movie is Pursuit of Happiness, and it's only because in that particular movie, it's Will Smith and his son in that movie, and they're in a bathroom. And that sort of just like put this light bulb in my head. If you're not willing to sleep in a bathroom for your dreams, you just need to just get a regular job. Because, you have to
Was that a remake with the dude from Star Wars? He lived with his son in a car. Is that like the same concept? I haven't seen either of those movies.
Yeah, it's like this. Yeah, it's the same. It's roughly
the
the same.
Movie industry is just as guilty as the music industry of releasing the same bullshit over and over and be like, hey, guess what? Have you seen Star Wars? Well, guess what? It's the same movie, but he's in it now. You like that? They're in a car. Man. Gang violence grows up to be something. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Hey, we watch the same bullshit superhero movies over and over.
All the time.
Yeah,
it's
the same damn movie.
Storyline,
so
different person.
But
yeah, if you're not willing to take yourself to the extremes, there's no reward, no risk, no reward. And I personally decided to make that decision where I take the risk. I take the risk all the time, because sooner or later it's going to be a payout that will put me in a position where.
Or we hope it's a payout.
Yeah,
but even that, though, it's not always just about the money, too. If it's something I can do that I enjoy every day and make ends meet, so be it.
And payout is more or less time.
Mm-hmm.
Time is money.
Time is the enemy. Look at that. Look at that.
Wherever you spend your time is where your heart is.
It already is old.
Wherever you spend a majority of your time is, unfortunately, where your heart is, whether it's your job, your actual dreams. Whatever you spend the most time thinking about or doing, that's where the majority of your life is. And it's hard to take away from that.
Yeah, and I think this is a good place for us to end on that. Think of that too. Without being living with a message, I guess. Like, yeah, if there's something you really want to put your mind to, try it, do it. Why not? But
especially if you're young.
Oh yeah.
And the crazy part is, we're gonna end it. You even have the success stories of 70, 80, 90 year olds that just like, I just said,
I went back to school and blah, blah, blah. So, it's weird to actually think, like what the real world would be as opposed to the outside of even music, what you really want to do. So once again, thanks again for listening to us. We're going to have another one for you next week. If there's any other topics, ideas you want to hear about, feel free to hit us up, send us a message. Also, once again, hit us up on our Instagram and Twitter, official TITE. That will be our handle name, Instagram and Twitter. Also, check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/timeenemy. Once again, I am John, play lead guitar in Time is Enemy. Actually, I play all guitars in Time is Enemy. And then, of course, because Kenny's lazy, he plays drums and stuff because I'm supposed to send him off every time.
Okay, I play drums. I think about guitar parts, touch some keyboards from time to time, and
deal with Sam. You're his handler. So.
I'm Sam.
Well, yeah, once again, thanks again, and we'll see you guys next week.